Base is dropped for another round of soccer down here. It's Tuesday. It's an icky Tuesday. That's pretty much the only way that I can describe it. It is an icky Tuesday. And it is Tuesday thoughts. Hopefully everyone is staying as warm and dry if you're here in the footprint as you possibly can. And, yeah, it's just a bleh day. So it's a day to either stay indoors or do indoorsy kinds of things. Hang out with your fellow indoorsy type of people, and just get ready for the competition going on that will be going on in short order in Qatar. And we'll get into the latest stuff with that. We've got roster numbers that have been released, jersey numbers that have been released by our friends in England, those kinds of things. But John here, Jared there, and good morning. First off.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good God, it is a miserable morning.
Right.
Weather-wise. Just the weather, man. I mean, it's grim out here.
I know, and that's what I was getting into. It was like, it's just one of those mornings where you just kind of want to sit there and just stay in bed and not do much of nothing. And, you're like, it ain't worth going outside, except when you absolutely positively have to, and that's the only thing that you want to really have to worry about this morning. But no, biggest thing is everybody stay warm and safe. And if you can be inside today, be inside today. Looks like it's going to be raining and being just nasty until like about dinner time. But I know that Abby, I don't blame you. Morning, Sean. Still in bed. Don't blame you one bit. But I know that a lot of folks want to talk about roster moves and decisions and things like that. I know we've got that, and so we'll get into that. And obviously, if folks want to talk about stuff directly in the timeline, we can. But for opening kickoff this morning, Jared, I thought you might enjoy this, and it has to do. The byline is from Nusa Dua, Indonesia, and it comes from our friends at Reuters. And once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, the opening kickoff. And there's your QR code once again. Right in between me and Jared. You click on that QR code, get your adventure started with our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off all of your purchases when it comes to Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% and reinvest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. So, byline, Nusa Dua, Indonesia. The chief of soccer's world governing body, and this is from our friends at Reuters, FIFA, issued a plea on Tuesday for a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine for the duration of the World Cup, calling for all sides to use the tournament as a, quote, positive trigger, end quote, to work towards a resolution. Speaking during a lunch with leaders of the Group of 20, who was affectionately referred to as the Group of 19 by Vladimir Zelensky when he addressed the G20. The G20 major economies on the Indonesian island of Bali, FIFA President Gianni Infantino said the month-long World Cup, which starts in Qatar on Sunday, offered a unique platform for peace. Quote, my plea to all of you to think on a temporary ceasefire for 1 month for the duration of the World Cup, or at least the implementation of some humanitarian corridors or anything that could lead to the resumption of dialogue as a first step to peace, end quote. You're the world leaders. You have the ability to influence the course of history. Football and the World Cup are offering you and the world a unique platform of unity and peace all over the world, end quote. Infantino noted that Russia hosted the 2018 edition and Ukraine's bidding to hold the 2030 contest, while as many as 5.5 billion people are expected to watch this year's event, which could give a message of hope. Quote, maybe the current World Cup, starting in 5 days, can be that positive trigger. And the article continued. I think Homeboy might want to sit that one out. Just a thought. Just read the room. Thank them for the lunch. Great meal.
Shut up.
Great meal. Stop talking. Literally, just
don't condense this entire thing down to just Don't condense the entire damn thing down to just, oh, we just had a ceasefire and everybody come to the table and talk. I think we're past that point at this point. Mm-hmm. Also, last time I checked, Ukraine is making advances militarily into Russia. Russia would probably love a ceasefire and a sit down right now. Don't quit trying to oversimplify things in the name of sport just so you can get out there and get a quote that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy and all that jazz, man. Yeah, everything sucks. It sucks for all the people involved. It sucks for people in Ukraine who have literally had their lives turned upside down
for a decade
because somebody decided they had to have a power trip about reinstating the USSR. Mm-hmm. It sucks for conscripted people in Russia who are, of varying ages. They're not just taking 20-year-olds anymore, but who might have zero belief in what's happening and being handed a rifle and told to go into winter in Ukraine is not. It's pretty grim, man.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's wet. It's muddy. Yeah. You got people getting forced in there who don't believe in their cause, but they're getting told to go in there and do stuff. You got other people trying to just freaking survive, man. Like, it's the best laid plans and all that for Infantino, but just shut up.
Yeah.
Like, don't even get involved. Don't even throw your tail into this rat king.
Don't do it. But being the the head of FIFA, World Cup's coming. I think I will throw my quote hat into the ring about what soccer can do. And last time I checked, the Russians are not involved in the tournament because they got kicked out because of the war.
Yes. There is also that.
So
there is also that Russia's not here because FIFA told them to piss off. That's also a bit of a minor point in all of this.
Yeah. So obviously, Russia will get right on that, and they'll follow every single word and thought when it comes to what Gianni Infantino said at apparently a lovely lunch in Nusa Dua, Indonesia, hanging out with the G19. But sit that one out, cowboy. Just enjoy the lunch. Thank them for their time. Shake their hands, and just get back on your plane and head back to Qatar.
Yeah, man. You know what? Grab a couple desserts, toss them in your pocket, smuggle them out, do whatever you got to do. I mean,
yeah.
Man, just if no one's gonna ask you about like huge wars that have like hundreds of years of geopolitical implications, don't
volunteer.
If no one's going to drag you into that conversation, don't drag yourself in, man.
Yeah. So I thought I would bring that moment of wisdom.
Well, I call this damage, so thanks.
Yes.
Let's talk about roster moves and crap like that.
Well, let me do the tag.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, do the tag for our friends.
Tag. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code. And thanks to everybody who has been getting their kickoff coffees or kickoffs coffee. I don't know if it's Poets Laureate or not. But once again, use the code soccer down here 15. Get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And on the social medias, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. Now that the opening kickoff is done and we have basically told a particular highly powered individual that maybe wait for Sadie Hawkins to come back around before you hit the dance floor again. All right. Final moves had to be announced yesterday by noon, and there were some interesting names that came across the board outside of Atlanta United. The discussion was made involving Atlanta United and everything involving who's in, who's out, who they'd like to have back, all those kinds of things. So here's the deal, according to our friends at Atlanta United. Bottom line, year-end roster moves. 24 players already under contract for 23. Club exercises a contract option on Ozzie Alonso, George Campbell, Jackson Conway, Aiden McFadden, Miles Robinson, Mateus Osechu, Juanjo Purata. Declined options Dylan Castanera, Raul Godinho, Bryce Washington, Mikey Ambrose, Alex DeJohn, Amar Sejdic out of contract. The club remains in active discussions with Sejdic, and you could also announce those kinds of elements too, that if someone is out of contract, you can also announce, yes, we're still in active discussions. The loans for Ronaldo Cisneros and Rocker Rios Novo expire at the end of the calendar year. So that means that there are 24 players under contract from for the year 2023. Almada, Aruju, Barco, Centeno, Chol, Cobb, Dwyer, Johnny Fortune, Alan Franco, Garces, Gutman, Guzan, Ronald Hernandez, Emerson Heineman, Ibarra, Lennon, Eric Lopez, Joseph, Efren Morales, Moreno, Mosqueda, Sosa, Wiley, Wolf. We mentioned the exercised options. We mentioned the decline options. We mentioned the players out of contract and those who are end of loan. Free agency opens tomorrow. So we will have those discussions. I'm sure that I'm waiting for at midnight, those agents to be waiting to bang on folks' doors. Reentry process, end of year waivers are Thursday. So that's where we are right now. And that's the Atlanta United roster as we know it. Jarrett, not really a whole lot of surprises when this list came out.
No, not really. I had some questions about some of the loans that got answered. Look, like Ronaldo Cisneros works his ass off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's there though. He's not that. He's not a guy who's you need that I would want to have starting 30 games. I think he works his tail off, and I think he has his moments. But if you want, he's not my guy right now.
Right.
And especially if any trigger was too expensive, yeah, you're definitely not doing anything for more than a good bargain. Godinho, same thing. Rocco going back. I mean, look, Rocco still has folk hero status as long as he wants here. But if I've got young goalkeepers, I've got two in-house that are a little bit younger that both showed me a lot last year. And I think it was Sam who posted the numbers that if you looked at look, Atlanta United 2 gave up a ton of goals last year, but as far as like the advanced numbers on goalkeepers, Reyes and Garces were two of the best in USL. They were basically in a firing squad every game. So them giving up goals really skewed the numbers that they were really good, especially I thought Vicente Reyes really grew as the season went on. I'm not triggering if it's me personally, I'm not triggering a huge buy option with Rocco if I've got two guys who are going to be cost controlled, who really showed me a lot last year in USL. Brad is Guzan supposedly coming back, will be ready. You can find a backup goalkeeper for cheap in the league. And if you've got to go down the line, then I think you look at one of the two guys you have coming through. I love the idea of bringing Amar Sejdic back. Please make that happen.
Yes.
Was a big fan of what Sejdic did last year. Especially for his price point, it's great value. I want to see how they balance out the rest of the offseason. Like, will there be more moves? I don't know. There's a possibility because you're going to have a dearth of players in different positions. Even on the back line, like Miles Robinson at some point is going to come back and play. You're going to give George Campbell minutes some way, shape, or form. George Campbell's going to play somewhere because George Campbell's potential is high enough that you want to get him on the field. And as he goes through growing pains, you just roll with that. Noah Cobb, starting January 1st, is a homegrown player as well. He's a really talented young center back that is much more mature than his age lets on. Juanjo Peratas here on an extended, that looks out. I think they said the loan was extended.
Yeah.
So Peratas here longer on that loan. You still have Alan Franco, who I thought ended the year really well. Like, you have a lot of bodies there on the back line. Do you thin it out a bit? Do you see if you can get value for guys? Do you loan some guys out? I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's still moves to be made. They might not be earth-shaking moves, but maybe you're just adjusting the roster here and there. And guys might redo their contract. We learned this year that Brad Guzan restructured his deal to free up some money for the team. guys make those sorts of moves. The old Chipper Jones move, you restructure, free up a bit of money for the team to make the moves that they need to make. Guys might do more of that. We just don't know yet. I mean, this is just where it sits at the end of the season. It is a snapshot of the roster at the end of the season, not a referendum on what the entire offseason will be.
Yeah, just so folks know the numbers on Alan Franco. Went to our friends at FB Ref. Here's what you have, similar. And here's the last 365 days. FB Ref has the top 10 names compared to Alan Franco. Before I get into the numbers. Nahuel Ferraresi from Sao Paulo, Nino from Fluminense, George Campbell, Leo Ortiz from Red Bull Bragantino, Josh Knight from Peterborough United, Angulo from Tigres, Natan from Bragantino, Tim Ream from Fulham, Andreu Fontas from Sporting Kansas City, and Lucas Cunha from Gil Vicente in Brazil. So now the numbers on Alan Franco. And this is percentile in Major League Soccer. Top 12% in assists, top 20% in expected assists to goals. Then shot creating actions, basically top quarter. Top 10% in passes attempted, top 5% in pass completion, top 20% in progressive passes, top 2% in dribbles completed, top quarter in tackles, top 20% in blocks. So that's what you're getting from Alan Franco by the end of last season. Those are the numbers when you're looking at Alan Franco's statistics last year. So you look at that, you look at Alan Franco, and I know that you mentioned the keepers, and I went through the list really quickly. Here's the list of keepers whose options were declined. That if you wanted to take a flyer on somebody, if you're looking for that expanded, you're looking for that experienced keeper to come in and hang out. You've got Tyler Miller. You've got Cody Cropper from Vancouver. You have Jonathan Klinsmann. You have John Kempen from D.C. You've got, like I said, and I'm scanning quickly just to sit here and see. Adam Grinwis is out of contract in Orlando.
Yeah, you got keepers you can find for cheap. Like backup keeper is not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back financially for any team unless they just get weird with it.
Clint Irwin from Colorado is a part of the discussion.
Clint Irwin, Atlanta United legend.
Yes.
Part of the expansion draft when they traded him back to Toronto.
Tarbell and Pulisic, both in Austin, are a part of the discussion that could be had. So there are guys out there that if you're looking for that experienced keeper with that knows Major League Soccer, those are the ones that you can kind of sit there and go, okay, that gives you a good, at least the knowledge base when it comes to what's going on in and around Major League Soccer to keep an eye on things. So there really weren't a whole lot, obviously not a whole lot of surprises. I know a lot of folks gravitated to the quotation, the quote with Carlos and Joseph Martinez, where Carlos says, at the moment, Joseph is an Atlanta United player. Don't foresee anything happening with Joseph too quickly with the World Cup about to start. Describing the conversations, no rifts between the two parties. And so, that's where the situation is with Joseph Martinez right now, as it was discussed by Carlos Bocanegra yesterday. So, with Atlanta United, if you look at the individuals who are here, you look at the options that were picked up, everything being equal, Jared, everyone comes in healthy. There really isn't a whole lot that needs to be done here to fill out a roster for Atlanta United in 2023. There really isn't a whole lot, and we've already discussed the keeper position. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot that needs to be done.
Yeah, and Abby asked about it with Jackson Conway. It's a good question. I have a lot of questions about Conway as well, because Conway, I thought, really improved last season. I thought he added a more well-rounded element to his game where, he was doing more work off the ball, doing more hold-up play, doing more of the dirty work. Mm-hmm. And as this, he had those games early in the season, I thought he kind of struggled. He used the Charleston games as his platform to really springboard twice. Charleston was bad under Casey Connor. Like, comically bad pressing team.
Oh, Connor Casey.
Connor Casey, sorry. Well, he doesn't even get his name in the right order after what he did. Casey Connor doesn't get his name put in the right order after what the hell happened down there.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see what that's an entirely different conversation. What does Charleston do next?
We will find out. We might find out this week, see what's going on with the Charleston bat.
Yeah, we might. But Jackson Conway, I thought, did more of the dirty work and worked hard. And sometimes it didn't really pay off in terms of tangible results. But with Cisneros gone again, it's Dom, it's Jackson Conway. I think you might be I'm interested, how do they feel about his progression? Because does he become a guy who starts factoring in more on the striker side of things on the first team? Is this his shot? Is this his opportunity to be that guy? I'm very interested to see because, yeah, he's talented. I thought he's stepped up.
And, and like I said, and we have been keeping an eye on Jackson Conway, and is this his shot? I think that's the key here. Emilio has a question about one of the San Jose players, your Quakes, Jarrett, and Eric Rometty. You have any interest in bringing back Rometty even for depth? Emilio would do it.
I mean, maybe it just depends on how the midfield shakes out. Like I said, so I don't know if what we're seeing right now is a snapshot of what this team looks like right now, if this is what it's going to look like in January. It's also to what Carlos said yesterday. The World Cup is coming up, and I feel like it's really a jacked up off season for all of us because we're thinking about hey, we got decisions that got to get made. There's an off season. Okay, let's deal with the off season. There's a World Cup in the middle of the off season. It kind of throws everything in flux. It's going to be weird for some teams. MLS has a lot. I think MLS is one of the top teams in the world outside of the Big Four, Big Five leagues. They've got double-digit players going in the World Cup. It's a very busy time for some of these clubs. And it's not just your standard off season. It's, guys are going to be gone for a month. You have a World Cup that is going to be attempting to demand the world's attention. If they're able to do it, great. I don't know if they'll be able to demand the entire world's attention per our discussion yesterday.
Yes.
Byrne giving his input from the European side of things as well with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is a snapshot of this team right now or if this is, close to what you look like in January. Rometty is going to be an interesting option for a lot of teams, I think, because he's a talented midfielder. He still, for me, has the best analogy I've ever come up. I've tied myself to for Rometty is watching someone play Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
When they're just cooking. When he's cooking, he's cooking. Go back to 2018 where he put Maxi Morales in his pocket. In the Eastern Conference semifinals, he was just putting guys in his pocket and not letting them out. But like anyone who can get rhythmic when they're playing Guitar Hero, if they miss something, sometimes it's hard to get it back. And there were times, especially in 2020, before Rometty left, where if something went wrong, it was like it knocked him out of rhythm. It was tough for him to find his rhythm again.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what the price point would be for a guy like him.
All right. So now that you have triggered that,
he is cheap.
Well, so let me see what the MLSPA is. It MLS Players? Is that the there it is. MLS Players salary info. So as I sit here and try to figure out resources salary guide. So here we go, salary guide, and here's where we do the search. Fat fingers will not help in this case. Eric Rometty had a salary base, and it was full compensation, $450,000 last year. So that's your price point coming out of this last season with Eric Rometty. So that's what you're looking at for at least the neighborhood for something to come back. Nix believes that the midfield is still a mess, especially if Ozzy isn't back game one. I don't think it's a mess. I mean, let me ask you this, Nix. Define your term, because what we like to do here is, we don't want to live in, sound bites and one-liners and things like that. Define your term. When you say the midfield's still a mess, especially if Ozzy isn't back game one, what is constituting the mess that you think that it is? And like I said, this is why we're here. We have all this space to have this kind of talk and conversation. I want to know where you're coming from here. And Dawn Star is surprised that they're bringing Alonso back. Dawn Star, when it comes to Ozzy Alonso, he was brought in by Gonzalo Pineda to be that sandpaper, to be that veteran presence, to be there. He wasn't supposed to start all the games and give you 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes. The initial idea was to have him come in and be the closer for Santiago Sosa. With 30 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, Santi's run himself into the ground, and you bring in Ozzy Alonso for 20 or 30 minutes to just shut everything down and knock everybody off their pins, disrupt the game, that kind of thing. Because of the injury to Santiago Sosa, he was forced into the starting role, and then obviously, had the injury that kept him out for the season. But I think having a veteran presence, he knows what Gonzalo Pineda wants to do. And having that guy that can sit there and be that second coach, the one that's out there on the field while things are going on, while you're trying to shut a game down, while you're trying to get out of town with 3 points. I think we saw, Jarrett, with what Ozzy could give you even as a starter still, how the team was with him and how they missed him at the 6 when he was injured. So I think bringing a guy like Ozzy Alonso back, if he's healthy, give you the 20 to 30 minutes, shut things down, get in folks' faces, sit there and completely disrupt things. I'm looking forward to seeing a healthy Ozzy Alonso in 2023.
Yeah, Ozzy's a depth guy at this point in his career. And credit to Sosa for really coming on strong at the end of last season. Showed you at the end of 22, I think, what he had showed you in spurts of 21. And if that's the guy you're getting going forward, I think you're good there. In a cap league, you got to have guys who are of value. And I think he fits that. He's going to give you something. He's probably not going to be too expensive. And you can try and build, and you can, have him be kind of, an emotional core if you need it. The guy come on and crack skulls.
Yeah.
Further up on the midfield, I know we had there was like a whole discussion yesterday and a confusion about Mateus Asetu and his contract,
right?
About whether it was this year was the option or next year was the option. I believe Emerson Hyndman restructured his contract as well.
Right. Yeah.
Which I'm going to tell you, man, that if Emerson Hyndman restructured his contract, that makes it easier for me to stomach. Because as much as I do love Emerson Hyndman as a player, no player has made a roster sitting on the training table. And if he cannot play on the field because he cannot stay healthy, then you start making decisions based off that. Like I said, I like him as a player, but if he can't be on the field, then I gotta start looking around.
Yeah.
Amar Sage would be a great to get back. I think that helps stabilize things a bit. I'm still in the camp, and this isn't me saying this is going to happen. I have no inside knowledge on this. If I had to put money on somebody being moved, I'm still thinking like Marcelino Moreno's got to be part of that conversation potentially.
Yeah,
where you can free up some money. He doesn't seem to fit in what you're doing right now.
right.
As evidenced by him not really playing much the second half of the season last year.
Yeah.
I think Moreno could be a really good get for a team like a Colorado or an RSL. I think he could thrive in a place like that. And I think he would be, if you made me put like, we're past Halloween. Let's put Thanksgiving side dishes. If you're asking me to put Thanksgiving side dishes down, like, sweet potato with pralines on it, he would be the guy I would put it down for. Like, you're looking for a move, that might be one guy to look at.
Okay. asking Nix to elaborate. He says, and this is a series, so I'll read through it. He says that Pineda doesn't know who his starting midfield is, in his opinion. Even at the end of the year, it didn't have consistency. Nix isn't a fan of a Hasechu, and Sadic is a good depth piece, but if he's your starter, just think we can do better. I don't think that Amar Sadic was meant to be a starter, but once again, if you have someone with all of the injuries that you're having to juggle, I think it was what was it? It was 20 different injuries on the 37 individuals that appeared last year. That no, you're not going to have consistency, Jason, when you have all of these injuries. And I'd love to. Atlanta United publishes with their game notes. They publish the grid of the starting 11s game by game by game. I wish I had that for the last game of the year or after the last game of the year, so I could sit here and see just how many different combinations that you had. But you mentioned Mateus Hasechu. Let me get to Hasechu's numbers. And once again, this will be from our friends at Football Ref, and lay out the comparisons here. Okay, so similar players to Mateus Hasechu for the last 365 days. Four of them are playing in Brazil. Four of them are Brazilian. Allen from Atletico Mineiro, Andre at Fluminense, Carioca, who plays at Tigres, Matt Grimes at Swansea City. That one's random. Jordy Classy at AZ Alkmaar, Lima at Juventude, Arsnes at Benfica, Tyler Morton, Blackburn Rovers, Jackson Ewell with the Earthquakes, and Harrison Reed with Fulham. So here's your numbers when it comes to being that fulcrum in the middle from our friends at FB Ref for Mateus Hasechu. Top 3% in passes attempted, top 2% in pass completion, top 20% in progressive passes, top 15% dribbles completed, and top third in progressive passes received. So that's what you're looking at. I mean, Hasechu is supposed to be. I mean, if you want to, I guess the to a degree, Jarrett, the best analogy I can come up with for Mateus Hasechu is that he's an offensive lineman. That he does his job, he does it very well, he does it quietly. The only time it seems that folks want to talk about him is when there's a mistake that creates a turnover and has it going back the other way.
Well, I feel like that's the I feel like that's also the Alan Franco thing, because like Alan Franco, especially at the end of the season, wasn't bad at all. But when Alan Franco makes mistakes, he makes like 1% mistakes. Like, oh man, that's not the error you can make in that situation. And his mistakes more often than not got punished, which sucks. And that's just, it sucks, but that's kind of like sometimes that's just kind of how things go. And you kind of feel like Charlie Brown in those instances. But I thought he did better at the end of the season, and he's going to be an interesting one to figure out for, what do you do with the back line when you have so many young players coming. And you want to build through that academy. As much as we talk about Atlanta as a big spending club, they do still want to be able to build from the inside. You want to see guys be able to impact the game who came up through your system. The George Campbells of the world, the Noah Cobbs of the world. So you don't want to block them. How do you balance putting together the right defense while not blocking young guys?
Then let's see. Going through comments, Emilio, all year we heard midfield can't link the back line to the front line, so while I can't technically explain why, it seems I'm told this is a concern. Reminder, Emilio is not Pep Guardiola, and completely understand. I'm not either. But, I mean, when linkage play, Jarrett, I mean, getting to Emilio's point here, I thought it was more than anything, it was just the lack of being clinical. I didn't think that it was linkage that was the issue. It was a point that Gonzalo Pineda made a lot last year, is that they needed to be clinical and they needed to finish. Unfortunately, they didn't do that. I don't think that it was linkage that was the issue with the midfield working its way with the forward line. So, you look at it in that manner. Was it linkage that are just connecting passes. That was the issue.
Yeah, and I think to Emilio's question that you just asked about, Josetu. I mean, I think they see him as an 8.
Yeah.
And there are times where, like, watching Josetu where I wanted to physically drag him forward. Like,
Yeah.
and I think he started doing it at times, and it's the inconsistency that was maddening, because I think he would have some times where he was, but it's these moments where, like, he would get aggressive, and he had a couple. The second half of the year, he had a couple opportunities to score where, like, it'd be a good save, or he just missed, a volley just charging in from the edge of the box, that sort of thing. I'm like, cool, man, get involved here. Be that guy linking things. I would love to see his progressive passing get even better.
Yeah.
But you want that guy to be the guy that, hey, we're playing out and we're under pressure. Get it to him. He'll get out of pressure, and then he can, find, he can at least alleviate some of the pressure, and then find somebody else to get the ball to.
Yeah.
And it just depends, like, how. I think to everyone's point, it just depends on how how the rest of the midfield is going to be structured, and then how things go financially, especially with the Marcelino Moreno. And I've seen other people in the comments talking about it as well. Yeah, like, Moreno's my guy, I love Marcelino Moreno's game.
Yeah.
I love watching him succeed. I think he is a very unique player and a lot of fun. I don't think he's fitting here right now.
Yeah, I think you're
especially when Thiago Almada was just trying to basically burn MLS down by himself at the end of last year.
He did a pretty good job of it at points, too.
He did. Man, he really did.
Let's see. Yeah, Abby's with you on Marcelino Moreno. Emilio's with you on Marcelino Moreno. Soccer for Good OG. Wasn't Moreno on the field more when Ozzy was there? It's a small sample size, she knows, and it was before Almada was up to speed. And so,
yeah, and like I said, Moreno's such a weird player in that, like, he was that dude who would, like, try stuff all game long. He's going to try things like 12 times.
Yeah.
And 2 of those 12 times, it's going to come off. And one of those 12 times, it's going to be like a back-breaking pass that nobody else would even try, but he would do it, and he would execute it. Even if it's 1 out of 12 times, if that one leads to a goal, you roll with it. He was just that dude who was like, hey, Bubba, watch this.
Yeah.
Was a lot of Marcelino's energy, and I appreciate that about him.
Yeah. There was some Leroy Jenkins moments, yes.
There is some, hey, I'm going to try this. Is it a good idea? Well, it's an idea. And I appreciate that. Keep doing those sorts of things. Live your best life, buddy. As far as the rest of the midfield goes, like I said, I don't know. Is Emerson Hyndman healthy?
Yeah.
Like, is he healthy enough to give you something this year, to give you what he's shown you in flashes? He showed you at the beginning of 2020 that he could give you something. Gets COVID, isn't the same guy coming back.
Yeah.
Not bad in early 2021 under Gabby. Blows his ACL. Has not consistently been on the field since. And I feel like he has shown you in those little spurts, like, oh, this could be okay. This could work. And then just can't stay on the field. Because I feel like even having somebody like that ready to go to challenge Josetu would make both of them better, would push both of them harder. And I think that would be awesome to see.
And to our opening kickoff this morning.
And Emilio, Ibarra's on a U22 DP. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a straight 650. Like, he's on that U22 DP spot. So, like, you're paying him, but it's weird MLS math.
Yeah,
I know it's really weird. It's dumb. I know people have differing opinions on Ibarra, and I know, like, the club sees him as an 8, and a lot of people see him as a 6, all that jazz. But as far as his salary cap is concerned, it's
a separate column.
Yeah, it's a separate column. It's weird, man. MLS math is really dumb.
Yeah. So look at part of MLS math is the birth certificate. So look at somebody who's a 22-year-old or lower, and you could send them over to column C when it comes to any kind of impact on salary caps. And the beauty of getting bolos from the Associated Press in line with our opening kickoff this morning, there's seems to be shelling going on in Kyiv, Lviv, and other parts of Ukraine, thanks to Russian forces. So, yeah, we'll get right on that idea of the ceasefire, Mr. Infantino.
Yeah, but yeah, it looks like it's so if it's 650 for Ibarra, I mean it's a heavy salary, but it's the same. It's like the U22 spot is you kind of have to consider it differently just because of the way the structure is. Because MLS loves to just add rules upon rules. We can't simplify things. If we have a rule, then we need to add two more on top of it. And those two new rules have to play off of the original rule, and it has to tie together like somebody's playing Bejeweled.
Yes.
It is just mind-numbingly brain-breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Emilio, there is no MBA for MLS capology, man. Like, they're the only people who understand the MLS cap are like there are people I'm sure who understand it, but they have dedicated their lives to it, and they live in a small tower in a small room lit by candlelight, and they are slowly going blind from reading the sacred scrolls of MLS capology.
Yeah, and you really need, you really need an incredible.
You need a cheat sheet.
You do, you know, and that's why you brought in Demetrius Evstathiou from the league office to be your VP of soccer ops and strategy, because Demetrios was MLS league office, and you brought Demetrios in to help you with that math. So
and it's the reason that Orlando, Atlanta, and Miami at different points, you know, were employing similar people who, you know, who had soccer IQ, who had soccer IQ about the way MLS works. Who am I thinking of? John, who was
what?
Who was it? Who was working for Atlanta, then went to Miami?
Oh, McDonough?
Yes, Paul McDonough. It's the reason Paul McDonough was employed by multiple teams, because he was a former agent, had understanding about how the finances work, and every team had a guy like that. It's not just McDonough's just the example I'm pulling out of the air, even though McDonough's not really doing anything at this point after the Miami stuff. But the point being, you have teams who have guys like that because they need somebody like that to actually like help decipher what the hell this league does in terms of structuring their finances, because rarely does any of it make sense.
Yeah. You know, Knicks, as someone said, it's a collection of good players, but far from a team. And I think that injury and continuity is a big part of that. Yeah, I think that eye test with the team falls down is what Jason was saying. But, you know, once again, when you have a lack of continuity and you're trying to bring in players to help stem that injury tide, it's going to take a while for things to get together. And if somebody's healthy, somebody else gets injured, you know, it's just all of these moving parts. It's like playing, it's roster whack-a-mole. And roster whack-a-mole then turns into starting lineup whack-a-mole and game day 18 whack-a-mole. It's like, okay, who can I get? You know, you have to bring in guys on the short-term loans from Atlanta United too to help things out. You're bringing in guys on loan to make sure that you have enough roster spots of healthy dudes. And so it literally is juggling chainsaws at times. And, you know, the stats are, you know, show that the team, that you had individuals who had fairly decent years when it came to percentiles, but once again, at the end of the day, you didn't get it done, and they know that, we know that, and that's why we talk about it as much as we do. But, you know, I think that if you had this, Knicks, if you had this collection of good players healthy, and Gonzalo Pineda and the staff and the guys were all able to sit there and have some time to themselves where they could actually have roster continuity, then I think you would be seeing all of the fruits of the investment, whether it's on the field investment or off the field investment with your MLS math. Morning, Matty Ice. You know, and then Abby to Jason along those lines, blaming a lot of the disconnect on players being injured. Players get synced, someone gets injured, got to bring in another player. Happened again and again and again. Soccer for Good OG is in. I still say the intangibles is where the team needs help. A sports psychologist maybe, and a good sage cleansing wouldn't hurt. We had zero good luck last season. How many times were there posts that were hit, Jarrett?
I don't know. I lost track.
I've never had a sage.
They also had the post hit against them a couple times too. It's one of those things that balances out over time. It's tiring. Because you're in a place right now where you're hoping that everyone comes into 23 healthy.
Yes.
And then you can see what you've got while also maybe making some tweaks here and there with guys coming in, maybe guys going out, maybe trades, maybe whatever. You look at some of the MLS free agents that come up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to find that right balance to see because there is like this thing of like, what if what you had can work, but it never really built the continuity to get off the ground, and you didn't have any leadership on the field at the end of the year because all your leaders were sitting on the sideline with various leg injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the whole point of the offseason is to get better. So do you run it back exactly as is, or do you say, I like this framework, but we can improve in area A, B, and C? And
Right.
I think that's where it's at. Is you might like the framework of what you got, but there's places you can always improve. And if you're sitting still, being stagnant in the offseason, that's when the wake of somebody else's boat can possibly capsize you.
Yes, that is true. Have you ever had a sage cleansing?
No.
Okay, so the OG, you're going to have to tell us about the value of a sage cleansing because I don't think very few of us have had one. And also bringing up the point that Moreno was in our writer's crosshairs because he hates dribblers. So, yeah.
I mean, look, Moreno was a polarizing figure last year. And
He was.
not just one. It wasn't just, one person going after him, one person defending him, that sort of thing. Moreno was polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Like, because, he's, like I said, Marcelino Moreno's philosophy appeared to be, I'm going to try this. Is it a good idea? It's an idea. And if it comes off, like, it could be that ball that he hit to Jake Mulroney against Charlotte to earn the late win.
Yeah.
Early in the season, where he just hits a picture perfect diagonal where he just turns and just yeets the damn thing into the ether, and it lands at Mulroney's feet. He'll try stuff, or it can be like
the dribbling exhibition that he had
against DC in 21, where he just like dribbled on the entire DC team and then laid it off to George Bello, who tapped it in.
Yeah.
He'll have those moments where he's just going to try stuff, man. And when it comes off, like, it's going to lead to something. And it's not only going to lead to something, it's going to lead to something absolutely demoralizing for everyone else who's not on his team. But I don't know if he's, because of, how the end of the season went, especially, like, I don't know if he's a part of this picture going forward. And that sucks because I think whether it is this offseason, whether it is next offseason, whether it is in the middle of the season, whenever Marcelino Moreno's time here ends, it will be a very interesting retrospective because the man came in. He comes from Lanús, which is where Miguel Almirón came from. He had kind of taken that mantle after Miguel Almirón left. He comes here in 2020. He comes after Pity Martinez has been sold to Al Nassr.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the middle of COVID. Atlanta's a mess because, you have the start of the season where Joseph blows his knee out. You win your first 2 games. Then you go and have a really frustrating MLS's back tournament just to soften the blow. Oof. It's frustrating. Let's call it that. Let's be nice and call it that.
Yeah.
You don't get you have an interim coach. You don't get much training. Like the way the COVID restrictions were, you don't get much training time during the week. The entire season's kind of lost, and Marcelino Moreno comes in the middle of that and is just asked to integrate as a DP and try and help get that team across the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a weird situation he got thrown into, and it feels like everything has been stop and start his entire career here. I think, when it is all said and done, Marcelino Moreno's time here will be a very interesting conversation because of when he came here and what he has been here during, and then some of his brilliant moments and some of his perplexing moments.
Yep.
But I still think he is a perfect fit for a guy like a Colorado. Like, make that move within the league, Colorado. Give us a bunch of money, and then let him go thrive.
Yeah. Emilio, I guess with the gazillion-dollar MLS Capology question, how long in the season do we go before we should be concerned? The 10-game mark, using injuries, is dangerous for him.
Yeah, that's the interesting part is, if everyone is healthy going into next season,
yeah,
and it doesn't start well, the reaction's not going to be good. Because that's what we're kind of banking on is the idea, like I said, it's the idea of, like, if you like this framework, do you try and run it back while making improvements? Okay, well, what if the framework doesn't hit the ground running? That's a great question, because then, you're starting to really look around at, okay, we need to make decisions.
Yeah.
But you're banking until we know. And some of it's also going to depend, frankly, on the schedule. Like, I mean, how does the schedule shake out? Like, because, like, what if those first 10 games are like, what if it's road heavy and they're like, hey, go play games in Seattle, go play a game in LA.
Yeah.
Go play, games up north, go play a game in Minnesota, or, that sort of thing. Like, what if it's a really tough first 10 games? I mean, there's a lot to factor into that.
Yeah.
And you can look beyond the record. It can be like, hey, the record wasn't great, but they played well. Or it can be, hey, the record was okay, but man, that feels like it's going to regress hard in a bad way. I don't know yet. And that's going to be the question of, is it 10 games where you make that look and where you make that conversation? Because you can't sit there, because that's a little under a third of the season.
Yeah, and usually quarter pole is the point where you can sit there and say, all things being equal, this is who you are as a team. Traditionally, there's going
to be a lot to factor into it.
Yeah.
And that's where I leave you.
Yes. The real world takes over for Jarrett, and Jarrett will return. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So, you return tomorrow, right?
It should be okay.
Okay. Well, then there you go. All right. So, Jarrett returns tomorrow, and it's you and me for the rest of the run. So, obviously, we'll keep talking about what you guys want to talk about. But since it is 10 o'clock-ish Eastern time, and I know I started a minute late because of me hitting wrong buttons and things like that. So let me see. Go down into the music, and it always starts at 50. It never locks it in at the number that we had it at last time. So, all right, there's the number. We'll take it off a loop, meaning the music, and we'll hit the music, and we'll read the promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Turnkey process makes it easy to work with, said realtors and property managers, kind to the environment. We like that these days, offering a very green way of going about things without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze, or our favorite masking agent that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard and spray the masking agent in the air, that's all you're doing. That's why they call it a masking agent. You're masking the odor. You're not attacking the issue like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula, destroying odors all the way down to the molecule. Pricing one of two ways, either cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions that you may have, frequently asked or otherwise, one thing that you need to do is go to the website. It's lemonize.com, and this is where I pick up my pen and sit here and go, okay, go to the website. But after you go to the website, lemonize.com, do us a favor, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are asking them to help you attack your problems from, to end a sentence in a preposition. So your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com, lemonize.com /Atlanta. Womanize.com/Atlanta Pro to free, clean, fresh air, proud sponsors of everything SDH. So there you go. There's your background music being slowly faded, and that's where it clunks out. And welcome to the 10 o'clock hour of Soccer Down here on your, what's today? Tuesday. That's the word. Trying to figure out what day of the week it is. Yeah, still just kind of a bleh day outside. But yeah, Emilio, I think that when we were looking at things, it was literally quarter pole when it came to showing any kind of a concern. Quarter pole traditionally is where you can kind of see where a team is when it comes to personnel and things like that. So match 8-9, somewhere in there. Just philosophically, that's what I've done. Don Star thinks that we need a DP attacking midfielder. And to Rich Ransom, to your point, I think Soccer for Good OG is spot on here. If you were looking for any kind of front office change, just wait for all the jobs to be filled first before you look at what your roster is for those individuals down low. Burned. Predicting that with even all or most of the players back, the team is not in the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, which it should be based on salary and transfer fee spend. There's still an issue with the fit of the players to the playing idea, which is what, by the way, and with each other. A lot of overpaid players relative to their performance, which hurts in a cap league. Team needs improved squad planning. I think when it came to playing idea, once again, it was once again, one of the tenets was pressure off of losing possession. And then once you lost possession, then you tried to gain it back as quickly as possible, exerting the pressure that you could to try to create short fields and transition opportunities. So, and once again, the whole idea of playing with each other, once again, I will posit, when you have the roster that you're looking for at 100% full song, then you can get your starting 11s that you're in and, have the individuals that you want in place. So, overpaid players relative to performance. I understand that coming off of a season when you didn't make the playoffs, and yet squad planning. Like I said, I don't think that this, and we said this in hour number 1, I don't think that this roster is far away from being complete. It's just a couple of players here and there. And, and Emilio, you're not wrong. Injuries are the new cryptocurrency. Yeah. I'm looking at Atlanta United this way. I'm looking at 4-card. I mean, it's all, I think it's choice D, all the above. And it just depends on where you are. It's possession. If you lose it, then it's counter press. And then once again, I think it's choice D. It's all of the above. It just depends on which. And I think what you've done is break it down. You've literally taken the idea with your 3 ideas, and I think that it depends on which third you're in as to which one of those applies. So I think that you're accurate 4-card. It just depends on which third you're in. Possession, half to attacking third. Counter press, once you lose possession, wherever that is, probably let's just say middle third and in. So in your attacking half. And then counterattack is once again when you force it, if it's in your defensive half, and then you work your way through. So I think that what you've done is I think you've kind of pinned it down, whether it's by thirds or halves. I think that it's choice D, all the above. Don Star, you ask Luis and he'll say yes. Do you think Arujo needs to step up for next season? I think, like I said, you ask Luis and he'll say yes. I think that taking the major league example, I think that, they're trying to figure out what to do. I mean, Luis had so many opportunities, and by his own admission, he wasn't clinical enough. So it just got to a point, and we had the discussion about Miguel early in his career. Miggy, when he was here, it was just one of those same things where everything was right except the finish. And then it turned into a bit of a joke. It's like, okay, all right. So there was Almiron, and then, he didn't finish. But no, you ask Luis and he'll tell you the same thing. So I would compare this to what we saw with Miguel Almiron early in his career with Atlanta United. So Luis knows he needs to, and I think that that's a good first step. And Fourcard, I would disagree. I don't think that Arujo needs to go somewhere else. I don't. I think that you have guys like Almada and Arujo in your attack, getting the ball from the midfield of Hosechu and Heineman healthy. And I think that you're looking at a very promising attack. And I think that, like Jarrett said, now our number one, you had Thiago Almada, who wanted to lay waste to the league, and he did at times. I would give Thiago Almada maybe one more season like he had, give him a full season here with Atlanta United, and then he moves on. I know that a lot of teams are going to be looking at him in that summer transfer window, but I think that it's going to be another full season. Selfishly, I want Thiago Almada to be here as long as possible, but I know that's not the case. Any successful player that understands that this is that next step before you take that big step, it's it's just something that you're looking for. And once again, looking for Thiago Almada to be that next guy. You look at what Miguel Almiron is doing, and over in the Premier League, and obviously a lot of folks are thinking that you're looking pretty solid with a guy like Thiago Almada. But I think it's going to be one more year before he moves on. Uncle, I'm going with a healthy Heineman here. If Emerson Heineman is healthy, it's an if-then. If Emerson Heineman is healthy, when you saw him healthy, I think he understood what you were looking at within this system. You're seeing that also with Mateus Hosechu. So it's taking what the manager wants to do and applying it. If he's healthy, when we saw him when he was healthy, Uncle, I understand, but I'm not going to. This isn't something where we raise our voice and discuss this kind of stuff. I'm not going to. I will belabor the point, but like I said, whether it's Heineman or Hosechu, either or. But I think that what you saw with Heineman, and I know that the expectation was very, very high considering the price point. And if Heineman is healthy, he could be a part. I know, emphasizing 2 years. So it was more for me raising my voice. If Heineman is healthy, I think he can be a part of the equation. I don't think he can be the sole part of the equation. And I think that you're looking at Heineman and Hosechu as that 8 that can help you out in trying to figure out where your traffic needs to go. So like I said, healthy Heineman could be a part of the discussion. We will have to wait and see. So that's how I'm looking at it with Emerson Heineman as a part of it. Where is he right now? Once again, I think the renegotiation of the deal, I think was a good faith move on both sides. But I want to see where Emerson Heineman is when it comes to his health. And and Abby is discussing Joseph, and I know, Uncle, that you're discussing Joseph as well. And so we'll see where that continues to go with Joseph. But once again, if you were to look at a starting 11, then from the back, you're looking at Gutman, Miles, Campbell, Hernandez, Franco. You're stacked at the back. Then you've got Brooks on the right. So your back line with Brad and net, your back line, you've got a lot to play with. You've got Caleb Wiley that's a part of the discussion. George Campbell's a part of the discussion. So at the back line, you should be pretty good. In the midfield, you're looking at it's Uncle. I think it's the roster may be fairly similar. It's just that you're looking at everything with everyone being at 100% healthy. I think that you're going to have Gutman starting. You're going to have Lennon starting. You're going to have Miles starting. And then you figure out, is it Alan Franco as your fourth back. Then your midfield, you're looking at Santi Sosa as your 6. You're looking at Ozzy Alonso as backing him up. You're looking at some combination of Hyndman Hosechu as your 8. Then you're looking at, you're looking at how you want to finish up your midfield, and then you have a front line of Almada, Aruju, and your striker, whoever that is. So, if you're looking at that lineup at 100%, I mean, I'll take it. I will take that lineup at 100% healthy. So it's just trying to figure out what those pieces are and who's healthy. President with a quickness. Choices being made are definitely choices. And I know that, Uncle, we've got a lot of time to talk about it. And like I said, I don't think this roster in and of itself is too far away from being a complete roster. All things being equal, everyone being healthy, I think you're only a couple of pieces away. So, like I said, that's where we are, and we'll keep talking about it as we can sit there and go. Point made by Tom Bogert this morning, and it was to reinforce what was going on Twitter with awards. Hang on. So FC Cincinnati's also announced their roster decisions. See if there's anything of any great consequence there. Let's see. FC Cincinnati, flexibility in space, declining options on 8 players, including Matarrita, Jeff Cameron, Tyler Blackett, Alan Cruz, and more. 23 under contract for 23 under contract for FC Cincinnati. So here's the ruling about today. Yesterday's deadline for contract decisions was to inform the player and the league, not to announce. So now, after this morning with FC Cincinnati, it's 6 more teams that have to announce. But, so we're down to the final 6 to announce who is on the market and who is not. Absolutely. OG, absolutely true. No, I don't think Alec Can is coming back. And this is one of the tenets that we like to have here is the bottom line. Uncle, no need to just watch. I mean, love the fact that you watch, but no, the debate is healthy, and that's what we like to do here. Emilio, with the price point, I think the answer is no. Considering what Alec is making, and let me get that number too, and I know that it's an astronomical number when he signed with Cincinnati, but I just want to see what's going on with Alec Can now that it was brought up. Hang on. I know it was a big salary number. So that's guaranteed compensation and all, but yeah, the Alec Can contract, that was a big number to have Cincinnati bring him in. Let's see what else. Nothing about Hosechu's stats convinces me that he's worth the salary he's being paid. I mean, we went over the stats, and I know that we'll agree to disagree on it, but we went over his numbers as an 8 and how he's that fulcrum for what Atlanta United was looking to do. And like I said, I know that, like I said, debate's healthy, and we'll agree to disagree when it comes to Mateus Hosechu. I know that we will. And Uncle, you're also not alone here that, that you and a lot of folks who follow Atlanta United, they can't take another year like the 22. And I know that the most folks that would agree with you there, they're the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. They can't either. So, that's the bottom line. If the team kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, well, it was what it was, and they don't sit there and come out, any team in any situation after a losing season, if any team doesn't come out there and acknowledge, okay, yeah, we want to turn things around, in the players themselves, we got into the Luis Arujo discussion where, Luis admitted that, yeah, I need to have a better season. I like to have players who stand up like that. I mean, Luis Arujo, for what he did on the final homestand, stood at his locker, answered every question. Every question. And I will take a stand-up guy like that all the time. And, I like having guys like Luis Araujo as a part of the discussion. But, that's the thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what Luis does. He is now, he is self-motivated. If anybody's self-motivated, it's Luis. Now I want to see what happens in 2023. So let's see. I don't think, sorry, I hit the wrong one. You take it as the team completely shrugging their shoulders. I don't think so. I don't think that, I don't think that the team is shrugging its shoulders when it comes to build. Like I said, I think that it's just a couple of pieces here. Once again, all things being equal, everybody healthy, it's just a couple of pieces for me. And so that's, like I said, that's how I view it. And, Dawn Star looking at, you got, and I think what you saw with Gutman and Wiley when you played 5 at the back, where you had, I guess for lack of a better phrase, you had the striker back with Gutman, where you had Wiley out wide, and then you had Gutman on the inside making his inside runs and things like that, and teams had no answers for that. So that's kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to as well. So then, Uncle, all right. So then let me ask you this. Way more than a couple of pieces. So if you had your laundry list, Uncle, if you had your laundry list of what needs to be done, what would you do? I'm laying it out there. I'm asking you, if you feel that there are way more than a couple of pieces, what are you hunting for? No, Andrew will start. That is without a doubt. That is without a doubt. Andrew Gutman will definitely start. So burned. One issue I see with the debate about individual players is that there isn't enough consideration to how players fit with each other. Do I really need Hosechu if I already have Sosa next to him? Answer to Burn is no. You'd be better off with a Carmona type 8. Does Lennon fit with Araujo? Answer emphatic no. That's stuff like that all over the field. It's a bigger issue than the individual quality, which is okay in many cases. And so Uncle is Ibarra, Hosechu, Heineman. Those are your starting moves. Okay. And OG. I think Luis was just trying to do too much, and that was something that affected numerous players, created confusion, stress, and lack of cohesion. I think that there were a lot of times, and I think there were a lot of times with Luis specifically where you could tell that Luis wanted to bring the team along with him, and he was trying to grab the rest of the team by the scruff of the neck and move them all forward. And I think that you could tell that there were times last season when Luis, I think, was trying too hard. And it's like, you want to. I love the fact that he put the team on his shoulders, and you could tell, I think, at times that he was trying and trying and trying and trying, and then the results weren't there. The end result, meaning put the ball back of the net. But no, you could tell that a guy like Luis was trying to, put the team on his back. And I want those kind of guys here. I want to see that. So, all right. So Uncle has named his priorities. Franco Ibarra. Let me get into Ibarra's numbers from last season. Sorry about that. All right, so Franco Ibarra. Once again, this is from our friends at FBref. Similar players to Franco Ibarra over the last 365 days. He's being mentioned with players from Porto, Flamengo, and Avaí in Brazil, and a couple in England, and a couple in Major League Soccer. So Franco Ibarra, as a defender, top 1% in tackles, top quarter in aerials 1, top third interceptions, blocks, and clearances. Then you're looking. That's just the defensive statistics when it comes to Franco Ibarra. So that's what and be safe, Abby, in this weather. And thanks for coming by. No, and Emilio, you're absolutely true. Luis needs to do better. It will hurt his next contract, wherever that is. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And Forecard, I don't know about Ibarra and his physical stature. I would completely disagree with this. I would completely disagree with him being a team player, with him not being a team player. I would completely disagree with that. So, I mean, I know that. So we have our discussions as to who you guys have your eyes on, as to who you don't think needs to be around next season. So we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. I mean, like I said, and Uncle, I would, once again with Ibarra, I'm not looking at covering ground. I'm looking at numbers when it comes to who he is defensively. And if you're looking at someone that has a specific skill set and does things very, very well, we were just talking about at least the numbers last season as to what Franco Ibarra does. So once again, I mean, I will disagree with you where Franco Ibarra is concerned as well. So, I mean, we look at where things are with Atlanta United. And let me get into the other teams that have their announcements. I think we're still 6 teams away from having complete names, numbers, and everything. San Jose, option declined on Jan Gregish and Tommy Thompson. Those are the 2 names that came on the board. Judson and Eric Rometti, their contracts expired. So let's see. Minnesota United declined options on Dunladi, Ja'Cory Hayes, O'Neal Fisher, Kibanguchi, Tyler Miller, Metanare. Loans expired, including Jonathan Gonzalez. No Dawn Star, they have not. We have not heard anything from LAFC, so we'll keep an eye on them as well and see what they have to do. Vancouver, Lucas Cavallini, Cody Cropper, Jake Nerwinski, Toussaint Ricketts had their options declined. Forian Youngworth is out of contract. LA Galaxy declined Jonathan Klinsmann, Victor Vasquez, and Eric Zavaleta. Sasha Kleshchen's out of contract. DC United, option declined on 9 guys and 3 more out of contract. Gadiri, Kempen, Adoya Chem, Skundrich out of contract. Bill Hamid, Ola Kamara, David Ochoa, Ola Kamara out of contract. We've had the discussion about Atlanta United, FC Dallas. Matt Hedges, club legend on defense, had his option declined. Orlando City, Tesho Akindelli and Joey Desart had their options declined out of contract. Grinwis, João Pato, Pereira. Bonafide offers have been extended to Benji Michel and Pedro Gallese. Options declined in Colorado. Betashore, loan expired Lucas Esteves. Keep an eye on that one. Out of contract, Clinner and Jossie Zardes. And so that's where we are right now. So we're at half a dozen teams that have still yet to sit there and say that they have notified folks one way or the other of A, B, C, or D. So that's where we are with Major League Soccer, at least when it comes to who's in, who's out, who's around, who's hanging on, and who's going to be in places that we'll be able to see. So Ricardo Pepi, I believe, he's got I think he has a new coach at Groningen, by the way. Scored in Groningen's 3-2 loss on Sunday to Fortuna Sittard, 6 goals, 2 assists in 9 matches. So you have Ricardo Pepi with his work at Groningen. Greg Berhalter looking at what he discussed about Wales. He said that he thinks Wales is underrated. When I look at their squad, it's basically a Premier League squad. Gareth Bale is listed as fully fit for the Wales World Cup opener against the men's national team. Tabbed at number 19 in the World Cup rankings. U.S. are at 15. And Berhalter mentioned Daniel James, Harry Wilson, Kiefer Moore, Nico Williams, Brennan Johnson, Bale, Ben Davis. So James and Wilson play with Tim Ream and Jedi Robinson at Fulham. Moore plays at Bournemouth. Nico Williams is a part of the group at Nottingham Forest. He was a part of that incoming group there as well. So that's what you're looking at with the men's national team and getting ready for all of that. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo and find out what's going on with folks that are on the move, folks that want to be on the move, and folks that are not on the move. From the Telegraph, Manchester United, our international nightmare involving Cristiano Ronaldo, may end the contract, but they'll wait until they've seen the full interview with Piers Morgan before making a decision. And I apologize for mentioning the interviewer by name. Apparently, Cristiano Ronaldo decided to do this, didn't tell the club, went ahead and did it. And the interview itself, I think, is coming out Thursday and Friday. So looking at that interview, I have no interest in watching the whole thing, considering it would be giving airspace to both CR37 and to the guy who did the interview. Chelsea could revive their interest in Ronaldo after a summer move was reportedly blocked by then manager Thomas Tuchel because Tuchel talked to Rangnick. And, so we'll see what happens there. Todd Bowley was really interested in CR37, kept asking Thomas Tuchel about it. Tuchel basically ignored him. So we'll see about Chelsea and Bowley and Ronaldo. That's from CBS. Ronaldo and his agent held talks with Bayern Munich last week. That was at the four-letter paper. And so take that information at your own risk. Manchester United have joined Arsenal in pursuit of Mikhail Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk. Ten Hag was interested in him since he was Ajax manager. Mudryk said in an interview with Vlada Sedan, who is Oleksandr Zinchenko's wife, by the way, on her YouTube channel, he'd rather be a starter at Arsenal than sit on Real Madrid's bench. But he wants to speak with Mikel Arteta before deciding his future. Chelsea's keeper, Edouard Mendy, considering his future at Stamford Bridge because of concerns about his first-team chances. Four-letter paper, take the information at your own risk. Liverpool, interested in Las Palmas 19-year-old Spanish midfielder Alberto Molero, who is also a target for Barca and Manchester City. Roma could listen to offers for Tammy Abraham, according to our friends at Calcio Mercato. Tottenham sent scouts to watch Borussia Mönchengladbach 25-year-old France forward Marcus Thuram and Dortmund's Cameroonian striker Youssoufa Moukoko in Friday's Bundesliga match. Liverpool and Arsenal also interested in Thuram, out of contract at the end of the season, heavily linked with Bayern Munich. That's from our friends at 90 Minutes. Chelsea confident they have agreed to a deal with Christopher Nkunku to join in January or next summer. That's a bit of a wide calendar berth. Manchester City are planning talks with Bernardo Silva's agent during the World Cup. City are aware the 28-year-old wants to join Barca, won't stand in his way if the right offer arrives. That's from our friends at Mundo Deportivo. Wolves manager Julian Lopetegui says the club's owners are worried about relegation and it will provide funds to strengthen the squad in January. That's from our friends at The Telegraph. Leeds English right back Cody Drame is attracting interest from Newcastle, Lille, Dortmund, and Leverkusen. Thomas Tuchel must leave the UK in December because of post-Brexit laws, but two of his coaches, Solt Le and Benjamin Weber, who have been placed on gardening leave, can remain because they're still technically under contract. Interesting, from our friends at The Telegraph. Napoli expected to offer 21-year-old Georgia winger Kavica Kvaratskhelia a new contract given his form this season. That comes from our friends at Il Mattino via Football Italia. Now to check the papers from our friends at Sky. And shocking no one, Manchester United players are disappointed with the Ronaldo behavior, and the club is taking legal advice, whatever that means. So we'll take an ear to that. Did you see the handshake, by the way, from Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo when they first saw each other in the locker room? It's like, yeah, hi, how you doing? And then they walked two separate ways. According to the interview on Talk TV, Manchester United doubted me, meaning CR37, over his daughter's illness. So, yeah, this is not going to get any better. And I think it's a guy who just wanted to sit there and try to figure out how to really get his way and leave Manchester United. But as we always say, Father Time, Mother Nature undefeated. And we'll see who wants to take on the challenge of what a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo can do to a locker room, first and foremost. Avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter papers, as we always do. in the Mirror, Garrett Southgate gave his players a rabble-rousing speech, and he urged them to make history before they fly to the World Cup. Erik ten Hag set to hold crunch talks with the hierarchy and claims that he feels after Ronaldo feels betrayed by the club. Daily Star, surprise target for Roma, CR37 after the interview. Sporting's manager Ruben Amorim seemingly left the door open for Cristiano Ronaldo, but he's also said that they can't afford him. Returned to the side after the attacker's interview. In the Times, Tracy Crouch, a conservative MP driving the campaign for legislation to introduce a regulator for football, is frustrated that progress to reform the English game has, quote, stalled, end quote, at government levels, and is also urging the Premier League to stop resisting the idea. Calvin Ramsey expected to start in Scotland's friendly against Turkey in Diyarbakir. Telegraph, once again, we mentioned how United's debating tearing up the contract. And let's see. Lopetegui has revealed Wolves owners Fosun are worried about relegation, will provide another cash injection to help try to save their season. Once again, that's from the Telegraph. Daily Record, and this is something probably that we'll keep an eye on with Jarrett. Rangers board still to discuss Gio van Bronckhorst's future as the under fire boss flies back to the Netherlands. Former Rangers striker Kenny Miller insists Michael Beale cannot be written off as a potential replacement, claims the fans want him back. Former Celtic star Nir Baton has confessed he told Oscar Gluck to stick with Maccabi Tel Aviv. Scotland international Kevin Nisbet makes his long-awaited return from an ACL injury for Hibs against Middlesbrough next week. And Scots are on a high security alert for their Turkey friendly after a deadly explosion in Istanbul. Ange Postecoglou, and I know that Jarrett will put his fingers in his ears on this one, linked with a shock move to Everton. And Frank McAvenny says no Rangers player would get in the Celtic team right now. So that's what we're looking at. So that's what we're looking at with all of the news and the papers and the gossip and the rumor and the innuendo. Chelsea needs a midfielder, Don Starr says. They need a lot of help, but the front office is more than happy to stick with Graham Potter because that was kind of part of the deal. That bringing in Graham Potter, what they would do is make sure that he had the patience that he would get, and when it came to the build. So they're not going to, unless something completely falls off the rails, they're not going to get rid of Graham Potter anytime soon. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you don't drink water for 45 minutes. So hang on just a second. And I know that's not water, and you know that's not water either. Let's see if there's anything else to do before we go. Then, once again, great that you guys are having conversations with each other, in addition to me and Jarrett, like you always do here on the Twitch pitch. Love the back and forth that you guys like to bring to the table every single day. Programming notes. Programming notes later today, we'll have the USL Championship wrap. We'll hear from some of the players from San Antonio FC after their win against Lou City in the USL Championship final on the weekend. You'll hear from the head coach. You'll hear from Samuel Adeniran. You'll hear from Patino, Connor Maloney, and Defender of the Year Mitchell Tainter. We'll also catch up with our friends at Huntsville City, and that will be posted to the network later on this afternoon. Looking also to have a recap on St. Louis City's expansion draft with all the names being put out on the table. And also with Prem and Proper. Uncle, now this is Uncle. All right, so Uncle, I am, I appreciate you saying this, but that's more for the boss than it is for me, because she is the Auburn alumna. I am, as she says, Auburn tolerant. I am a Florida State grad, and I understand the patience of our administration in keeping our head coach as long as we have. I have not been a fan of his, but you can't ignore what they've been able to do, and they've been patient with him. And you're seeing right now a team that's going to be bowl eligible and chasing after bowl games in the ACC. So I will pass that along to my wife. But that is that is something specifically for her. She's the Auburn alumna. I can't wear. Yeah, Don, I can't, and I'll go back to. Yeah, I can never say that. That's not going to happen as a Florida State grad. I love you, Don, but no, it's not going to happen. So, full disclosure, went to. There was a series of games during bowl season a couple of years ago when we were married, where we had to go back and forth from Alabama to Georgia and back because of events in both Birmingham and in Atlanta and in Auburn. So here's what happened. We go to I went to a game, and my mother-in-law got me an Auburn golf shirt with the logo and everything. And so I wore it to an Auburn game to be supportive of my wife and her school. Auburn lost. So that golf shirt was banned from ever being worn for a game ever again. And so understanding that, I wear similar colors. So I wear similar colors to what's going on, but I don't wear anything with a logo. Then coming back from the Birmingham Bowl that year where Auburn beat Memphis and Paxton Lynch, we could drive back from Birmingham, go to the Peach Bowl where Florida State's playing Houston. And this was Tom Herman when they were having all those successes, and they had Ed Oliver on their front line, and he was terrorizing quarterbacks, including one of the Florida State quarterbacks, Dan McGuire, who I think basically got his knee bent in the game. And then the backup quarterback got injured, and they had to bring McGuire back out basically on one leg. She wore a Florida State T-shirt trying to be supportive, and we got blown out by Houston. And so from that moment on, she can't wear anything that has a Florida State logo on it. I can't wear anything that has an Auburn logo on it. So we'll wear colors that are similar. Like she'll wear something garnet maybe, or she'll want to just have me watch TV and yell at my head coach or something like that. And I'll wear something blue or coral because of Dawn Star's affiliations. I can't wear anything orange because of that school, the University of South Georgia Gainesville campus, or the University of Coral Gables. I can't wear anything orange because of those two schools. And so my wife understands that. So I am Auburn tolerant, Uncle. And it was a great game. I will say this. What Cadillac Williams and that staff have done in 12 days have completely wiped out what Brian Harsin did to Detroit in almost 2 years, and everybody else that was attached to that university. So that's college football down here for today. So that's I appreciate the support. I will pass that along to the boss. But no, I am, see, now this is how, that is how you introduce folks. Was it on TV? Did you watch on TV or were you there in person? That's my next question. Yeah, no doubt. First watched Auburn game was Cadillac's win. And I think that for your fiance to see what football means to so I didn't know if you made your way over or something like that. But I think that watching the game on television, I think, showed to those who were outside the Auburn community what Auburn football could be. And like I said, Cadillac has done this. Cadillac, Zach Etheridge, and Trovon Reed, they've done this in 12 days as being in charge. And if you didn't see the post-game interview, once again, turning this into the College Football X, which we have over the OSG Sports side of things, if you didn't see the post-game interview with Cadillac and Cole Kublik, it's on the SEC Network Twitter account. It's about 4 minutes, and it's really good stuff. But it explains what the difference is to any person about having something in you as opposed to coming in from the outside. And so, we talk about it when it comes to, academy players working their way up into the soccer teams and being, start as an academy kid and then you're working your way up to the first team, like a Caleb Wiley discussion that we've been having. the key now is you're probably going to beat Western Kentucky this weekend. You'll go to 2-1. Then you'll be a decided underdog at 2-2 when you go to the Iron Bowl. But because of what you've seen, does the new athletic director keep Cadillac as head coach, even though he only would have 4 games of head coaching experience? He would be economically feasible considering the buyout that you had to get Brian Harsin close to $15 million. But, yeah, the students never left. And you saw after the game was over, and it was cold. It was like 50 degrees and a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and I'm up in the upper deck, and I've got both of those large, heavy hands in both pockets, and I had like a sweatshirt, golf shirt, T-shirt, and my big jacket on because we're in the first row of the upper deck. It's yeah, I know. So that's the key, but you've got to see what someone who's a part of the Auburn family means to that whole discussion. Yeah, it would. It would. And the key is if they bring in somebody from the outside, and my number one guy, and I apologize for turning this into the college football X this morning. But the key, though, is to whomever you bring in, if you bring in somebody from the outside, my money would be on Jamie Chadwick from Coastal Carolina, is that you keep Cadillac, Zach Etheridge, and Trevon Reed as a part of your fabric and your framework. Let the 3 of those guys be your front men for bringing recruits in and having folks understand what it means to be a part of the family. And we have this all the time when we're discussing our favorite teams. If you've got those folks who are part of the framework and understand what it means to be a part, then that'll work. So, you have to keep them. And the recruits that are currently still on the list and who haven't decommitted, they're saying that they still are a part of the process because of Cadillac, Zach, and Trevon Reed. So I'm, like I said, sorry that this went down the road of college football down here. But yeah, the College Football X discusses that over at OSG Sports, and follow OSG Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those kinds of things. And you can get your background of college football, and then you can do that. Yeah. Sorry that took the college football tangent this morning. But we've seen it in soccer too, where you have teams that have kids from their academy, they work their way up through the first team, and they understand what it means, and it means that much more to them when it comes to being a part of the process. Let's see. Now let's get into what's going on today. And it's a lot of lower division stuff, and we do have some stuff going on right now in Middle East, North Africa. And that's going to work its way through what's today's games. Maybe if I hit today's matches, I could actually have accurate things going on. A lot of stuff in the Middle East and North Africa. You've got some friendlies that are coming up. Czech Republic women at 11:15, so in 30 minutes, they are a road favorite at Romania. Flamengo Internacional is a friendly that's going on. Noon on the women's side. Venezuela, Panama is a friendly. Venezuela at home is a plus 123. More women's friendlies that are going on. Hungary's a big favorite against Uzbekistan. Austria is a big favorite against Slovakia. Club friendlies in Germany and Austria. More international friendlies. Portugal, big favorite, hosting Costa Rica. Brazil and Canada. That's an interesting one at 115. Brazil is a minus 111 on the board. More world friendlies at 2. England, a big favorite, hosting Norway. Netherlands, a big favorite, hosting Denmark. Spain, a big favorite, hosting Spain. And Italy's a big favorite on the road, hosting at Northern Ireland. FA Cup is going on. That's at 245. A lot of lower division stuff in England's at 245. More friendlies on the women's side at 5 o'clock. Colombia, big favorite, hosting Zambia. Chile, a big favorite, hosting Philippines. Dominican Republic and Cuba on the men's side for a friendly. Cuba's a plus 143 against the Dominican Republic, who's a plus 177. Herediano's in the Copa Costa Rica against Santa Ana. They're a big favorite. And Orange County SC at 10 o'clock tonight, hosting Hamburger SV out of Germany. Hamburger's a big favorite at a minus 526. So let's see if there's anything on TV. Yeah, Wrexham. That's right. Hang on just a second. Where is Wrexham? I thought Wrexham was playing today. Hang on. They are not in the. They're still in the FA Cup. They're not playing today. So AFC Wimbledon, Weymouth, Cambridge United, Derby, Gillingham, Hartlepool. Those are the big names going on right now. Wrexham, their next match is on the weekend, hosting Aldershot Town, and they are currently a minus 455 Dawn Star. They're second in the league, 1 point behind Notts County. Notts County trying to get back into the fourth division of English football. Right now, 1 point lead, 19 matches played. Wrexham's at 43 points. They would be in the promotion playoff positions, waiting the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7. So that's what you're looking at with that. So let me get into if there's anything on TV today that might be worth getting into. Obviously, we'll have press conferences and things like that are working their way through. So no. So there's nothing going on. So keep an eye on your favorite platforms to see if there's anything that's going to be happening of any kind of discussions when it comes to what's going on with the World Cup. U.S. Soccer, by the way, at Al Harafa Stadium. I don't know if you saw this. Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy is the World Cup organizing committee in charge of delivering the World Cup to and within the laws of Qatar. And this is from Paul Kennedy at Soccer America. Include a ban on homosexuality, and the Supreme Committee recently told CNN that the 2022 World Cup will be an inclusive and safe tournament. Everyone is welcome, regardless of race, background, religion, gender orientation, or nationality. And so Qatari World Cup ambassador Khalid Salman, who scored against France in the 1984 Olympics, he had an interview with ZDF and said that homosexuality is forbidden. FIFA controls the signage on the field, and this is where we get to the nuts and bolts of the story involving the U.S. The team's training site, FIFA controls signage on the field, but it's a place for federations to set up signage at its media area to support its sponsors and images sent back home. And so what U.S. Soccer did is they have rainbow team logos in the media room and locker room areas at the training facility at Al Gharafa and the media center at the stadium where interviews and press conferences are held. And Sean Johnson, quote, "We've leaned on the message of be the change. It's something that we've been proud of and continue to work towards being impactful with ourselves, our presence, and our platform. And we will continue to be so here in Qatar. They will display the pride crest and rainbow flags at other events around Doha that it controls, such as the parties it's organizing the night before each national team game at a West Bay hotel. The late arrivals are in. Dest, McKinney, Weah, and Haji Wright arrived on Monday night. Does not mean all the players trained on the first day. Players who played over the weekend did fitness work on Monday. Even Tuesday morning, players were recovering from weekend play. Tim Ream started practice by running on his own. Jedi Robinson rode a stationary bike. McKinney has not played since the end of October when he got the thigh injury. He was out on the field training on Tuesday. Quoting 3GB, I think his recovery is going really well from everything we've heard. So that's your quick update with what's going on at Qatar and what to watch and just get you ready for what's going on. So once again, thanks to all of you guys that have hung out and we've been discussing. Yeah, Uncle, you ain't kidding. You are not kidding, sir. Yeah, I hope everybody thinks that way. Hope the World Cup goes smoothly. It seems like a recipe for disaster. We already know that the networks that are there that are going to be covering it are just going to be covering, as far as we know, just the action on the field. I think that the American rights holder, Big Fox, has already said, yeah, we're just going to talk about the games. We're not going to talk about anything off the field. So we'll see. We'll see how, if it permeates in any way with any of the rights holders. Once again, if you haven't seen it, the E60 that Jeremy Schaap and ESPN put together on Qatar and the World Cup, that would be your mandatory / required requested viewing. If you've got an hour, watch it. It's fantastic television. And we'll just keep talking about things. And tomorrow's the Wall Pass Wednesday. Dylan Butler will be joining us, and we'll get his views about what he thinks with World Cup and everything else going on. But reminder, we got stuff coming up on the network today. All of our tape programming, USL Championship and Huntsville City SC. and we'll have another couple of things that'll be up as well as we go. And that's just what we're here for. We're here to break everything down on a daily basis and just love the back and forth with all of you. And I love that we, meaning you and me, have a back and forth. And I love the fact that you guys are having discussions amongst yourselves. And that's just one of the cool things about this society that we have here at SDH, that you guys will have discussions back and forth with each other. And if there's something that you want to yell at me about, that's what I'm here for too. But we'll be back at it tomorrow, and we'll keep cranking through everything that's going on here with the World Cup, and we will discuss it that much more tomorrow, since that's a Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us for Tuesday Thoughts. I'm just John. Thanks to Jarrett. Thanks to y'all for hanging out with us as well. Since that is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. That's a promise.